G'day folks, it's Phil from 15 Minute Guitar Practice. Hope you're doing well. Today we're looking at possibly the greatest blues ending ever. Now, if you know blues, you know Albert Collins, right? Of course you do. The master, the Telecaster. You know Mr. Collins. Mr. Collins, Mr. Collins. Of course you do. A famous Albert. You know Albert King, right? Albert King of the Blues? Of course you do. That's the lick. That's the Albert King lick. But do you know another bluesy Albert? A very cool bluesy Albert. This lick is one of the greatest blues endings of all time from a guitar player you've probably never heard of. Now, you've heard of Albert Collins, you've heard of Albert King. Have you heard of Albert Cummins? I'm hoping that I can be the guy to introduce you to Albert Cummins. He's an incredible blues player, and this lick is from the 2008 live album Feels So Good, which was recorded in the Coliseum Theatre in Massachusetts, and this ending comes from the Hoochie Coochie Man stroke Dixie Chicken melody that he does. So why do I think this is one of the greatest blues endings of all time? Well, number one, it's so surprising. Like, you normally hear blues endings and they're pretty standard, right? They're going to be playing a minor pentatonic or maybe a mix of minor pentatonic and major pentatonic. But the ending for pretty much all blues songs is pretty well established. And so to get a few more surprises because of the note choice was something that pricked up my ears immediately I listened to the song. And I thought, man, I got to learn that. And that's always a good sign for me. Me and my friend Justin always talked about things that had blues with a twist. You know, like bourbon with a twist of lime, blues with a twist. Because we didn't really know theory back then and we didn't know how else to describe it, but we were led by our ears to things that had blues with a twist, and this is definitely one of them. This for me is up there as one of the greatest blues endings, along with Ice Cream Man by Van Halen. And it's Showtime by the David Lee Roth Band. Now I know, technically, Van Halen and David Lee Roth, they're not blues. They're not blues artists. But these are definitely great blues endings. Okay, so let's examine why I think this is so brilliant from a technical point of view, from a note choice point of view. Albert is tuned half a step down to E flat. Like all the great players, ask Jimmy, ask Stevie Ray, there's just something about a Strat tuned half a step down that's the bomb. Okay, so it starts here on the 5th fret and he plays 4 or 5 notes that are pretty standard sounding in the blues. Starts on the root note and then walks up from the 3 chromatically to the 5. There's the 3, the 4, the flat 5, and the 5. That's not particularly remarkable. You would have heard that a lot in blues. It's what comes next that's the gold for me. So when he gets to the 5, he then hammers on to the flat 7, up to the octave, then pulls off from the flat 3 to the 2, back to the flat 7, and then there's this flurry of notes. So that is the octave. He's going 1, 2, sliding up to the flat 3, the 4, flat 5 and 5, the 6, the 7, and the octave, then up to the 9 or the 2. I'm calling it a 9 in this instance. And then one more slides up to the flat 3. It holds there just for a little bit longer and then back to the 2 or the 9. Before doing the big flurry, you know. All that stuff, which in my performance, I added on the end, and it's similar to what Albert does live, but obviously he does it way cooler, way faster, and way longer than I do. Let's take a look at the notes. Okay, I know I just explained the notes, but let's take a look at the notes. How many notes do we have in music? We have 12 notes in music. The 12 notes, in terms of intervals, we've got the 1, the flat 2, the 2, the flat 3, the 3, the 4, the flat 5, the 5, the flat 6, the 6, the flat 7, and the 7. This is where it gets cool. Let's tick them off as we go through all the notes in music. You think he starts on the 1, but he doesn't. If you slow it down, you can hear there's a grace note in there. A note that happens a split second before the main note. And that note is the flat 2. So he's playing this pull off from the flat 2 to the 1. Then he goes to the 3, the 4, the flat 5, and the 5. Tick them off. Then he goes from the 5, hammers onto the flat 7. Tick that off. Back to the 1 or the octave. We've already got that. And then he goes hammering or pulling off from the flat 3 to the 2. And then back to the flat 7. Then in the final run, he goes from the 1 to the 2, slides up to the flat 3, plays the 4, the flat 5, slides up to the 5, plays the 6, the 7, the 1 or the octave, the 2 again, sliding up to the flat 3, which is the penultimate note. The second from last note is the flat 3, and then he lands on the 2 and dangles there before doing his flurry of notes. So out of the 12 notes in music, Albert Cummins in one blues ending has used 11 out of 12 of them. 11 out of 12. When have you heard a lick that's used almost every single note that there is available to you as a guitar player or as a musician? 11 out of 12 notes in music, I think is just incredible. One of the other reasons it's great is because he manages to get a 7 into the lick. Now, if you're playing blues, you're playing 7th chords or 9th chords. But these 7th chords don't contain a 7, they contain a flat 7. And if you play a flat 7 against a 7, because they're only 1 fret apart, you get this horrible dissonance. You get this. There's a 7, flat 7, and here's a 7. Pretty nasty, right? But Albert makes this work, so it's great to get a 7 in there. Don't rule out using 7s. You just got to be very careful about where you place them when you're playing blues. So props for the 11 out of 12 notes in music. Props to the getting the 7 in, as well as the flat 7, as well as a bunch of other notes. And just making it sound great, playing it with such ferocity is why I think it's the greatest blues ending of all time. If you disagree, that's quite alright. But if you have what you think is the greatest blues ending of all time, please leave a comment and we can have a good heated debate down there. But I want to see what other contenders that you feel are great blues endings. Because this one for me, like I said, is hands down the greatest one of all time. If you haven't heard Albert Cummins, definitely go and check out him anywhere you can, anytime you can, on any track you can. But where I found him was the 2008 live album Feels So Good, recorded in Massachusetts. It sounds like one hell of a party. I wish I was there. That's all from me. You can download the tab. Please give this a like. Subscribe if you want to hear more from me. And thank you for your support. This is Phil from 15 Minute Guitar Practice saying bye for now. Cheers.
Everybody knows I'm